is Greg Summers, and it has been my tremendous honor to serve as the interim provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs for UWSP Point this year. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your very busy afternoons. I was chatting with people as they were coming in, and I think the refrain is, boy, it's been a long year. Boy, are we tired. And I understand, and I appreciate the time that you're taking today. I want to thank everyone for the honor of serving as your interim provost, in particular Chancellor Patterson for trusting me with this opportunity. It's been, I think, the biggest professional honor of my career for sure. I want to thank in particular my fellow vice chancellors, our new director for university relations, our 4 college deans, and the directors that I've had the pleasure to work with within academic affairs. Their collegiality and support have been very much appreciated. And I especially want to thank my colleagues in the academic affairs office who've been just a tremendous pleasure. Katie Jory, James Sage, and Barb Kazanke in particular have just been lifesavers this year. I want to begin the talk by offering you a few caveats, some fair warning about some of the comments that I'm going to make. This is called the State of Academic Affairs Address, and we all know that the State of Academic Affairs Address is, the State of Academic Affairs is trouble. We're all more than familiar with that, and I think I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Some of what I'm going to say today is going to be sobering and potentially a little depressing. But I think that's where we're at, as I'm going to argue in just a little bit. I think UWSP, like a lot of institutions of public higher education, is in a more precarious position than we really realize. And that's scary, because we all think that it's a little shaky. And I want to give you fair warning about that. I don't think the outcome has to be bad. It's not preordained by any means. I think there are decisions that we all can make, strategic decisions, collective decisions that can ensure that we succeed through these difficult times. But there's no denying that our present dilemma is just that. It's a dilemma. It's serious. Now, a second caveat in suggesting some of the strategic decisions in the directions that I think we could take, particularly as an interim provost, you could argue that perhaps I'm being a little bit presumptuous, and you could worry a little bit about what the future will bring. But I don't think that really matters. Even though I'm an interim in my current position, I'm not at all an interim member of this community. And more importantly, neither are any of you. And I think the decisions that we all need to make as a campus are just that. They're big, strategic, collective decisions that we need to make as a campus. And that's important. They shouldn't depend necessarily on who is the provost or who's the chancellor, who's in any particular position. They really are collective, and we need to think of them in exactly that way. That's the very purpose of having a strategic plan, and that's one of the things that I'd like to talk about as I move into the conversation today. So, with those caveats in mind, the journalist Thomas Friedman has been encouraging Americans, and especially American politicians, to set aside their partisan differences and to do big, difficult things together. So whatever you think of Friedman's politics, I like that idea. And I think it's a framework that accurately describes the challenge that we face as a public university. Unlike our leaders in Congress and our leaders in Madison, perhaps, I think at UWSP we're actually proving to be very good at accomplishing big, difficult things together. Our recent HLC-focused visit, for example, I think is a prime illustration of that. This university created a new general education program in a short span of just 4 years. I know it seemed like an eternity, but it was 4 years. And I know we're in the process of implementing that, and that a lot of departments are doing a tremendous amount of work to try and get ready for the launch of that curriculum in the fall of 2013. But it's a major accomplishment. In the midst of that, we also took an assessment culture that was very uneven and was causing us our primary difficulty with the HLC. And we really corrected it. We changed course. And we now have a culture of assessment, a culture of inquiry that comes from the faculty. It's grounded in teaching and learning. It's not focused on accountability, as we all worried about through this process. And it's going to be a major achievement. It's going to set, I think, a course that higher education across the country can follow for how assessment should be used on a university campus. And we did that through an open, collaborative, transparent process. There were a lot of difficult discussions, a lot of sometimes heated debates, but we always did that with a shared goal in mind. We did it professionally, and we accomplished it respectfully, and it was a big, difficult thing that we did together. The approval of the Poynter Compact, I think, is a second example of that. When we really began to push this conversation last summer, I don't think anybody gave it much of a chance. Very few people expected that we would see that compact pass. But students and faculty and staff came together and crafted a proposal that had the best interests of the campus at heart. And members of the Student Government Association, some of whom I think are here today, they worked as hard and as conscientiously as any group of professionals that I've ever seen. It was a privilege to watch them debate, especially in that final meeting. And it wasn't really the outcome so much, but it was the value that they placed in their education that was so impressive. And they passed it, 21-3. Not an outcome that anyone expected. Now obviously we still have, as many of you know, some legislative roadblocks. We aren't going to be able to implement that next fall. At least it looks unlikely that we will. But those legislative roadblocks we hope will disappear by the fall of 2013. And we're going to implement that, we hope, just a year later than we imagined. And again, that's another big, difficult thing that we have accomplished together. Now, Thomas Friedman, incidentally, has sometimes called himself a frustrated optimist. And I like that framework as well. We're all exceedingly frustrated by a lot of the comments that we hear about public employees, things of that sort, about our situation in public higher education at the moment. The situation is very difficult. But I think we really do need to remain, like Friedman, optimistic. Not only because we care about this university, not just because we care about our students or our own jobs, but because I think the country needs institutions like this. We really do. Imagine the world without places like UW-Stevens Point. Access to public higher education that's affordable and that's a quality education is still the principal route for opportunity, the principal route for success for a large number of people from modest incomes, and we cannot fail to serve that particular need. So like Thomas Friedman, I think there's very good reason to be optimistic, but I want to say just a few words about our frustrations as well. I want to start with this graph. Now, this is an image, unfortunately, that's become kind of iconic on our campus in the last year. It shows this very familiar story of the decline of public revenue as a proportion of the dollars that support UW-Stevens Point. And on the one hand, the story depicted here is pretty straightforward. It's simple. Public revenue has gone down over time, and it's reached a point now where we're less and less a public university and we're more and more something else. State located, I guess, is the joke. But there's a